Welcome to Transforming the Toddler Years, the podcast for conscious parents, caregivers, and educators who believe tantrums aren't terrible. They are powerful opportunities for connection, growth, and learning during the first 5 years. You'll explore how to use intentional language to raise calm, confident, and deeply connected kids, because the way we talk to kids becomes how they see themselves and engage with the world. Hi, I'm your host, Cara, classroom teacher turned parent educator and teacher trainer. Are you ready to nurture your children's mind, body, and spirit? Welcome, Toddler Tribe. Let's transform the toddler years together. Welcome back, Toddler Tribe, to the Transforming the Toddler Years podcast. I can't even believe this, but we're already on the 6th episode of our little Linguists series. That means today I'm reading you a short excerpt from chapter 6 of my new book, Talk to Them Early and Often, that publishes on April 24th. If you haven't already pre-ordered your copy, make sure you grab one for yourself and for your child's teacher. If you're a teacher, grab one for yourself and your administrator. And here's why. It's essential that this message threads across the environments that little people live. It's just so important that they hear the same language from their parents as they do their teachers, from their teachers as they do their parents. They feel safer and more secure, and they can do what we're going to talk about today a little bit better, which is listen. Okay, so chapter 6, when can they hear you? The 3 states of being. A single mom sat across from her 24-month-old daughter's teacher, listening to a progress report from the first half of the year. "She's such a sweet and funny little girl," the teacher said, "but she's struggling to follow even one-step directions in our classroom." The mom laughed and quickly replied, "Yep, she sure does have selective listening." Does that sound familiar to you at all? Do we often think about kids as having selective hearing or selective listening? And I'm using air quotes because that's not a real thing. The truth is, even when adults know the power of their words and design sentences intentionally, kids cannot always access them. In the example I gave, the teacher is speaking to receptive language skills. And this is a skill-based challenge for this little one. The student is unable to process and respond with the appropriate action to follow the classroom direction. This mom misinterprets the teacher's words. That's very common as well, right? We're learning about that. And responds with a statement indicating that she thinks her child is choosing not to follow the directions. Communication miscues like this lead to behavioral challenges, both at home and in the classroom, triggering infants and toddlers into a state of dysregulation that prevents them from being able to process your words. In this chapter, we dissect the emotional regulation continuum, exploring our 3 brain states and how we move among them. This is important. Don't miss this. The science is complicated, but the concept is very simple. Consider the work your body does to stay cool on hot days and warm on frigid ones. I know all about this living in the Northeast, where it's been very Arctic this winter. Your body has to work hard, expending energy to regulate its core temperature. That takes away our ability to do other things. In the same way, a child's brain expends energy as it works to regulate their core emotions. Emotional regulation. Now, this is a 2-word phrase that is highly talked about, a lot of buzzwords, a lot of buzz discussions around it, right? And it often leads to this idea that, oh, we're supposed to co-regulate with kids. Yes, of course we are. We are. However, we are not co-regulators as a crutch. We need to be insightful and sit within what they need so that we can lift them up when they need support, but we can pull back when we see they can handle it on their own. That is how you co-regulate. It's not a constant state of action. Think of it like a seesaw, right? You and the child, adult and child, are sitting on opposite sides of the seesaw. The child gets triggered, overwhelmed, struggles, loses it, meltdown, tantrum, boom. The seesaw. They are at the bottom. It hits the ground. In order to help them get back to that even state of being, you have to put in some effort to bring them up to that equitable space where you're both doing some work. You are both putting effort in to stay calm in your nervous system. Does that make sense? Actually, in one of my Instagram posts, I used a thermometer to describe it. That when their emotional temperature goes up, yours needs to come down to meet them where they are. So the 3 states that our brain houses are survival, emotional safety, survival's physical safety, emotional safety, and thinking and learning. Those are the 3 brain states. And kids subconsciously, physiologically ask the question when they're in a survival moment, am I safe physically? And until that need is met, whether it's perceived threat of safety or real safety threat, until that need is met, they cannot move to the next state of being, which is emotional security. Am I loved? That is the question that their body asks, that their brain asks, that their being asks of us. When we meet their physical safety needs, the cortisol drops. When we meet their emotional safety needs, it drops even further. Then you have you have an emotionally regulated nervous system. And when those 2 needs are met, it unlocks the learning opportunities, the learning state of being. That happens in the prefrontal cortex. That's what everybody's talking about. The cracking of the hood and going into what's happening in their developing brain. Right? But in order to ask the question, what can I learn from this moment? What can I learn from this conversation? What can I learn from this activity? What can I learn from this interaction? What can I learn from this stressful moment? What can I learn from something that I'm actively doing or experiencing right now? Those other 2 needs must be met. So in the example of this little girl at the beginning of this chapter, those 2 needs must not be being met on a consistent basis. Because following a 1-step direction requires you to be able to hear what the teacher's asking you to do, process the words, make meaning of what's that request, and then choose how you are physically going to respond to that request. Listening is actually a 4-step process. We get to that later in the book. Listening is a 4-step process, but in order to do that high level thinking process, you cannot be worried about where your physical safety, and you cannot be worried about your emotional safety, especially with little ones who have a limited amount of resources to devote to all of this growing upness. We have 30, 40, 50, 60 years of time put in, of evidence behind us that we can do these things. They're building their toolkit. And so when people talk about co-regulating, this is key. When people talk about co-regulating, what I want you to reframe that to mean is, I am someone who is energetically making the children around me feel safe in the space that they're in. I am someone who is energetically and connectedly making the children in my space feel heard, seen, and loved with the way I connect and with my words. And because of that, when I give directions, when I create a moment for them to learn something new, it happens almost by magic. It happens organically because their brain is primed and asking, what can I learn in this moment? I'm getting excited, folks. Like, this is the type of stuff that fires me up. Can you tell? If writing it on a digital page and getting it through a publication system wasn't exciting enough, the idea that I get to now that I'm having invitations to stand on stages and to share this message and to spread it wide to the ecosystem, every single part of it that touches an infant and toddler's young life. This is my mission, this is my passion, and this is my purpose, and you all are out there doing the work. Thank you for being you. Thank you for sharing the message, and thank you for shifting, for creating space for these kids to feel who they are, which is whole in every space that they are in, so that their brain can unlock and learn everything it's ready to learn. Until our next episode, you know what to do. Stay mindful and proactive as we transform the toddler years.